Tell them what they're in for.
Well, you're all in for a treat because this podcast will expose the listener to offensive, insensitive, off-putting, and otherwise socially unacceptable content known to the state of California to cause cancer. To avoid injury, the sponsors of this podcast suggest you simply grow a pair.
There we go. Now we've got that out of the way. We've got our Prop 65 sticker done. We're ready to go. Want to do a little housekeeping real quick before we get to our guest, Anthony Hopkins from Castle Briars, an excellent pipe maker and personal friend of both of us. So coming up in future episodes, we have next week, we have the San Diego Pipe Club on the 25th. And on the 2nd, we're going to talk with Richard from EP Pipes, who has the EP Pipe giveaway. Just some fantastic looking pipes to give away. And then we're going to have Noah from At Noah's House, and then Bradley from BGX Woodworks after that, and then Caleb Bradley sometime shortly after that. So that's what we've got coming. And don't forget, tonight is our second pipe giveaway, and we'll be reading off your drink selections, your chosen spirit of choice. And we got a mountain of responses, and we can't say thank you enough. And as always, the opening of the show is sponsored by MBSD Pipes, mbsdpipes.com. They have a line of Mershams that I'm going to show one off here in a little bit, and this is game-changing. This is something not seen in Mershams, and I'm absolutely loving it. So, excellent. Tim, how are we doing? Oh, yeah.
Doing really good. Doing
kind of
really,
fascinating.
really good. The big feed coming up this Thursday. That's nice.
Yeah. Diane and I found an ostrich for Thanksgiving. We're very excited. I believe it's a 48-pound bird for the three of us. I'm not sure that I can eat 16 pounds by myself, but we're going to give it a whirl.
Nothing like 16 pounds of dry meat. Hey, sounds like my life.
You know, turkey is not, we do it once a year. Yick. It's like yard bird on steroids. Just, it's a big dry. Yeah. I make like 3 different types of gravy. Here, smother it in this. Why don't we just throw the turkey away and eat the gravy? That'd be better. But
like that.
Anyway,
the scene on the Christmas Vacation, where they cut into the bird and the thing explodes and there's like gas. It's dry. It's like an old tire.
Yeah, it's like cutting open a Exactly. So, Anthony, what are your big plans for Thanksgiving? Family coming in?
I'm going over to the in-laws' house and a few people over, so should be a good time.
All right.
I had a good friend of mine that wasn't vegan but didn't eat beef. We went to a fancy restaurant and he did order the ostrich, and it is red meat, and it was the sickest he's ever been in 15 years. So enjoy the other white.
He had a quill stuck in his neck, ostrich quill.
Call the paramedics. What happened? He had ostrich. Oh, the other red meat. Oh, all right. Excellent. That's classic. I'm glad you've been listening to the podcast because we think the world of vegans. They're just outstanding, folks. Keep the prices of beef low for us. Stay home, have some granola.
Dry meat.
On a much grander scale. Oh, excellent. Well, let's talk to Anthony from Castle Briars, and it's castlebriars.com. The website is up and running currently.
Yep, it is. Had to learn Wix in a week here, but I think it's 99% functional. So
excellent. Well, see, there you go. So you can go to castlebriars.com. So, Anthony, tell us how you got started. Hold on. So that you know, we tried to record Sunday night, and we had some technical difficulties. Tim's internet was currently impersonating AOL dial-up, and he was writing notes on paper on the screen because we couldn't communicate at all. And after about 20 minutes of that, we just kind of threw in the towel and said, maybe the internet will be better on Monday. And here we are. We're back. So we're redoing our interview with Anthony. We really appreciate him coming back to suffer through this. So tell us how you got started pipe making. Oh.
Well, one or both of you may have heard this story from yesterday, but I'll go ahead and regurgitate it. I guess back in high school, everyone was kind of trying different tobaccos and Red Man Chew. And my music and English teacher actually got me into pipe smoking. They recommended that over cigarettes. And those were the days in the 90s where your teachers could encourage you to smoke. And so I started smoking a pipe with them, and I'd gotten a cheap pipe and some cheap tobacco, and they had smoked some blends from a shop, old Italian guy in Lincoln, Nebraska called Cliff's, and so I would smoke some of that much nicer tobacco than the Prince Albert, and I tried to make my own pipe as a senior in high school in shop class. And I think I made one out of oak and one out of soapstone that we were using in art class. So the oak pipe smoked terrible, and the other pipe, which was soapstone, actually smoked great and was similar to meerschaum. And I had made them so that I could swap the military mount stems out. I didn't know anything about briar or any other pipe materials, but it was a good trial run. I went on to college and stuff, and have always done woodworking over the last few years, and just kind of had been thinking about making pipes again. And after realizing that I'd pretty much just done nothing but home improvement with my tools for 10 years, I decided to get a lathe and try my hand at making pipes. So I kind of a bad habit of going all in and ordered a lathe. I had some of the other tools in the shop and ordered blocks and never looked back.
Well, there you go.
I was just looking, Anthony, at your website. Pretty darn nice. Look at that, classy.
Yeah, it turned out pretty good. I had a fellow pipe smoker, James Forrester, who is part of the Texas Pipe Club. He helped me out with the new logo. I had done a bunch of clip art and sent it to some friends of friends and just got clip art back. So kind of been working with him the last couple weeks here to kind of dial in an updated logo that's a little bit more professional looking.
Now, your supervisors, what are their names? A couple of healers.
Yeah, we have a couple healers. So Raya is the blue healer, and we had her for a couple years. And I had a Sheltie prior to that, and I was like, oh, I've had a herding dog. I got this, like, no problem. Well, we got the healer, and I didn't have that. And that dog had energy. We were taking her to doggy daycare, and it became more expensive than my daughter's daycare. So we decided to get another healer to kind of so they could run each other's energy off. And my daughter was really into Guardians of the Galaxy at the time, so the red healer is named Rocket.
All right. Well, you're in good company tonight because Tim and I are both dog guys. So it's nothing against cats. If you like cats, there's help. There's a hotline you can call. Don't bring evil into your home.
I didn't pick out the dog or the name, but I get a pick. So
yeah. Oh, they're just little bundles of joy. No, they're demons disguised as little fuzzy bunnies. So
Right.
Right. Diane and I are down. We had a high of 6 at one time, and we're down to 1. And he is the best cushion retriever that ever lived. His entire life revolves around finding the warmest spot, and I kind of admire that dog. That's determination. That's a work ethic you can get behind.
So he's good at riding the sofa.
Oh yeah, he is a master at the extra sofa. Currently, he's hogging blankets from his mom. I went in to say hi to her before we jumped on the podcast, and he was curled up under a blanket. So he's got it dialed in.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So I have a couple of pipes from Anthony, and I kind of want to show them off because the work on them is fantastic. So this was a commission pipe he made for me, and it is a bent billiard. Just fantastic. If you're trying to sell me a pipe, you put a blue or red stem on it, I'm probably going to be in. And it's absolutely fantastic. I actually took this to work with me today. Had I think 3 bowls out of it. I had to go to Colorado Springs, where, by the way, it's cold and snowy in Colorado Springs. And it was cold and snowy until you got to Castlewood Canyon, and now it's just rainy and cold here. So go Colorado.
Yeah, the weather dropped in here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well,
Anthony
typical,
is the first pipe maker.
So
go ahead.
Typical.
Right.
We've got the typical Ohio, west of the Allegheny Mountains, crappy weather coming in now here. They built there's a giant arsenal out near us, and they built it that was like in 1925, something like that, just shortly after the First World War. And they built it there where they built it because there's more days of cloud cover, and it wouldn't be detected, by aerial reconnaissance because there's so many consecutive days of thick pea soup cloud cover. So that's my backyard.
Very nice. Very nice. So Anthony is one of the few pipe makers that I've actually met in person. We had a bowl of tobacco at Edwards Pipe Shop, and that's going to come up in the Ask Us Anything. How rapidly, the mom and pops are, kind of closing up and disappearing, and it's kind of sad because I think pipes have had a remarkable resurgence in the last 10 years, and to see shops closing up. But we'll talk about that later on. Tell us about your pipe work. When we asked yesterday, I don't know if Tim got to hear it or not, but I believe you've put a couple of pipes on consignment at Edwards, which is in Englewood, Colorado. Is that the name of the city?
No, it is. I'm actually kind of finishing up a pipe right now for their main pipe guy, and I made him serious. And a couple of other guys there mentioned about me putting something in the case. I think there's it's mostly there's a lot of good pipes there. There's some Sugis, some of the more factory types like Savinelli and Peterson, and there's another local pipe maker that has a few pipes there. So hopefully, once I can, I got to get through a couple commissions, and then I'm going to talk to him about having a couple pipes on consignment there in the case.
So, Anthony, you got a full-time job. You're helping run a company. You got a family you're raising. How many kids do you have?
I just have one daughter. She's 9,
Okay.
so it's a little bit easier to manage than 2 or 5. So,
okay.
Yeah, I ended up traveling a lot for work. Kind of a department manager for an engineering firm here in town. So, I wish I had a little bit more time to make pipes than I do, but the weekends is usually when I get some shop time in. So.
How many pipes a year would you say you make, Anthony?
Oh, not very many. Right now, I'd say about 20, maybe 25. I'd like to get up to, putting out one pipe a week, and definitely the last 2 years has really just been messing around with dialing in the shop and getting sandblasters and shaping wheels and stuff all set up. And now I've got all that taken care of, so I can focus on making pipes and not focus on all the other stuff. So
When you can tell by looking at the images of your shop on your website, and then also looking at the pipes that you make, that you're an engineer, because the pipes that I've seen that you've made. When I saw you at the Vegas show, you were kind enough to stop by the table and we talked a bit. And you had, I think it was either a billiard or a lavat that you had brought with you. And I'm telling you, for the folks that are listening on to this podcast, if you want a pristinely uh, engineered and painstakingly uh, detailed pipe, you have to look up Anthony, because his work is, man, it's just clean and straight. It's perfect stuff. Just completely impressed with what you're able to achieve with the stem work and the blasting too. I noticed the uh, some of the images that you have on your website of the blasted pipes. What Tell us a little bit about your blast cabinet. What are you using there? Everything from the media that you're using to the air compressor, the cabinet itself, etc. You want to give us a run by on all that?
yeah, I really appreciate that, Tim. It was great talking to you and looking at your pipes as well. I had some great finishes and super clean lines, and I really appreciate your craftsmanship as well. Um, as far as the blasting goes, I just have a really cheap Eastwood small cabinet, and you know, and then the ceramic nozzles and everything that it came with, and I was never really happy with that. And I think I've told Jim this story, but like if I go to a liquor store and I want to try a new bottle of whiskey or something like that, I'll ask like 3 or 4 employees what they recommend, and if like two of them come up with the same bottle, then I'll grab it. So I kind of did that in uh, the 21 Chicago show. I wasn't really happy with my blaster, and I spoke with a bunch of professional pipe makers, and I kind of asked them all the same series of questions, and then kind of came back. And it's nice being in a bigger city, so we had several sandblasting shops here, and I just went out and built a gun right at the sandblasting thing to kind of meet the CFM flow of the compressor and the nozzle size and stuff like that. And I run a really fine sand. I had played around with different sand. I always use the glass beads, and then different airflows and stuff like that. So right now I use an ultra fine glass bead that's almost like powdered sugar, and it kind of sucks because it gets everywhere, and I've had to duct tape and liquid nails the crap out of the screw together cabinet. And but I think I've finally got it to a place where I'm really happy with sandblasts that come out of it. I think another good thing is learning the wood. Some blocks are really dense, some blocks are lighter, and so you can do a test blast there. And I usually use like a carving pressure, which is higher, and then I drop the pressure down and do more of a detailed finish on it. So that's the process that I use for sandblasting.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because I'm a novice at sandblasting. I bought well, just I'm a mill worker's kid, and so you don't have a tool. Well, then we're just gonna. What do you need a tool for, kid? We make our tools in this house. That's how my dad was. We're gonna make our tools. And so you buy the cheapest thing you can, and then you upgrade it. And so what I did was I bought a Harbor Freight blast cabinet, and I bought a Tacoma company blast cabinet upgrade kit. And basically, what you do is you throw their gun in the trash, and you rebuild the cabinet. Basically, all you're getting from Harbor Freight is 6 sides of a cabinet, and then the rest of it is all the Tacoma company. But the problem that I have with it, I think, is that the orifice on the nozzle is too wide. It's like 7 millimeter, and I think it's too wide. I don't get enough. I don't get enough, direct pressure, and so I don't get deep sandblasting. I get a more of a, I don't know. There's an example of what I get, and see how you're getting nice deep lines and everything. I don't get that. I could be there all day, and this is as good as I'm going to get. See how deep that is,
Yeah,
and then this is.
mine was 6 millimeters, so it's not much smaller than yours. So, what pressure are you running?
Um, like 55 psi, and
Yeah,
and uh, and I
I'd
use it.
recommend going like 80 to 90,
Is that right? Okay.
maybe even
Because
100 if
even
the
if
block is really dense.
oh, okay. Because even at that, the glass bead that I'm using, it just turns to powder. Yeah. So anyway,
Well,
Yeah,
we could take that offline and talk about it
you
sometime, but
know,
that's part of the issue that I have.
no, this is the fun part of the show. I could listen to you guys talk about this stuff all day long because I can't work a blast cabinet. I probably could, but I destroy things first.
I
You
think
know,
the other important thing on that too is the nozzle flow. So like my compressor is about 16 CFM. Here at altitude we got to derate it 20%. So or about 18 CFM. So I get about 14 CFM out of it, and then I have a
Mm-hmm.
12 CFM nozzle in it, so that I'm not the air compressor can keep up with the gun. I end up designing multi-million-dollar compressed air plants for work, so I um, kind of had a little bit of back history with all that compressed air stuff, and have actually helped a couple other pipe makers with cabinets and things like that. But that's the one thing that I don't like is my cabinet is so small. It's like a dust storm in there, and I've got 3 lights on it just to barely be able to see the blast. So I like to get a bigger cabinet. But I think it's all in the gun, really. Is
Yeah,
for
I
me
think you're
where it's
right.
at, not so much the cabinet.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Well, the cabinet is just a place to do it. But if they leak, it makes a mess. Ours is out in the building where the chickens are, and it's got a concrete floor in it and everything. But every once in a while, I'll be blasting, and all of a sudden, I'll get this, like a stop and a puff, and there's a feather stuck on my on the workpiece.
Well,
So
hopefully
you sandblast with feathers, it takes you a while.
yeah, all the beads are in there. Instead of eating rocks, they're just eating all your glass bead.
not having chicken at Tim's house, I can tell you
Now,
that now.
I know. Well, I had
I,
another Premel Chetta told me that if you uh, wet the stummel and then use a heat gun uh, and and heat it to evaporate the water and then blast it, that it'll stand the fibers up on the surface and you'll get a deeper blast. I've tried that, and that's why I think it's a gun issue for me. And quite frankly, matching the CFM on the compressor to the CFM on the nozzle is not something that I ever really kind of considered. But I'm thinking, hey, that'd probably be a pretty good idea. I ought to look that up.
Yeah, I started with a Craftsman that was like 6 CFM, and I would blast for 20 seconds, let it run, and then go do something on the lathe, and then like come back and blast. And so um, once I got my larger compressor, it was definitely it cut my blast time from 2 hours to 10 minutes. So
Yeah, right.
What size compressor are you using?
I've got a 5 horsepower Ingersoll Rand single stage. I don't, a lot of people will talk about dual stage. I don't think you really need it unless you're in a shop that's running multiple tools. You just want to be able to cover the airflow of the gun. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the tank capacity?
So that's one of those big.
What's the tank
yeah, I've got
capacity?
about, it's only a 60 gallon is what I've got. So,
Okay. Yeah, we could talk all night about sandblasting because it's it's one of those things too, is like how much time you got. And part of my issue is I get a lot of voltage drop in that building where I have it.
yeah,
And I get a dust storm going in there. I turn the shop vac on, and it's brown out. So I constantly turn off the air compressor, turn on the shop vac, let it run for a while, clear all the dust out and everything, and then switch again and run the air compressor if it needs to build back up, and you know turn off the shop vac. So it's a building that's out there a ways, and there's a lot of drop in voltage from where it's powered.
yeah, it's I had put in a sub panel in my garage and then my air compressor didn't work, and so I had to pull all of the wire back out of the panel and put in a bigger panel and then refeed it all. So it's been a challenge, but luckily I work with electrical engineers, so I just did it myself, and they made sure I didn't melt the house down.
Yeah.
Obviously, a huge plus. I'm
Yeah.
sure
Yes,
your
sir.
wife is thankful for that.
Yep.
Yeah, geez, it's hot in
Excellent.
here. Where's that black acrid smoke coming from?
She does hate when I run that thing because it squeals. You can hear it through the walls and in the house. So I try and do it when she's not home, or she works remotely. So when she's not on business calls, I'm not firing up the compressor.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Now, in your pipe making, do you prefer to sandblast? Is that the more appealing finish to you, or do you prefer smooth? What's your preference?
I think like every pipe maker, I'm always chasing the smooth, and I've had some good luck, a few smooths. A lot of my blocks from starting out and only doing it for a couple years are grade 3 blocks. I did finally get some higher grades this year. So, but in those grade 3s, there's some nice stuff that works out. But I'm always chasing it, and but it is a little bit nice to stop at 220 and throw it in the blaster instead of chase those grits all the way up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
the hands tend to last a little longer if you're not sanding, till the
I
cows
was
come home.
working on pipe, just holding that thing for and,
Yeah,
fingers would be for like 4 hours afterwards. I
I
gotta
saw
work on my.
that. I saw. Is that the one that you posted? I think on Instagram or something. That somewhere. Just recently a paneled pipe.
Yeah, I did the panel and then it had a little pit, so I had to sandblast it. And as I was blasting it, another big pit behind it opened up. So I filled them, and someone's gonna get a nice shot pipe. But I've got
Oh yeah.
this, unfortunately, because of the crevice that opened up in it, it's gonna be a shot pipe for somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love when you guys call them shop pipe because they always smoke fantastically and they'll last forever. Anyway, last week on the episode we had an Ask Us Anything, and because it's a pipe making question, I wanted to ask you the same question. On stem material, is there a certain type that you prefer for mouthfeel? Do you have a favorite material to work with? Is there one type that fights oxidation better than another? And lastly, what is your method for bending your stems to match your pipe shapes?
Sure. I think acrylic has a really nice smooth mouthfeel, but it's really hard. And some people like it and some people don't like it. So I've got um lots of stock of it, so just I have options and stuff. And some people like it, some people don't. I find that it cuts on the solid colors. It's kind of a pain to cut and shape, but on some of the ones that I have, which are compiled pieces, it seems to cut a little bit easier. Ebonite is probably my favorite. It's a little bit softer, still has a good mouth feel. Um, polishes up nice. And, a lot of people kind of gravitate towards black. I like that, but I like some of the SEM limited edition colors. I think can really set off a pipe too. So, and then I do have some of the resin cast, um, and that stuff is really soft and it cuts. Like the first time I did it, I laid way into it with the file and then went through the edge of the saddle and had to start all over again. But it feels a little bit more like acrylic, but it's softer. You definitely got to use a Delrin tenon with that stuff so it doesn't snap off. And I think as far as bending goes, is just like everyone else, I'll uh, heat it up with a heat gun and then just bend it and to the shape I want. And sometimes you just got to sit there and hold it forever. And then other times I'll run it under a little bit of water to speed up that cooling process.
Okay.
Do you,
And the
Anthony?
follow up question to that.
Do you use primarily Dowrin tenons, or do you cut integrated? Do you ever cut integrated tenons in your ebonite or acrylic stems?
Yeah, Ebonite, I do that integral tenons on that. With acrylic and resin, I do Delrin 100% of the time. I've got a friend, and Jim will probably meet him down at Edwards because he's got some old tobacco I want Jim to try. But I have he just gave me a pipe that he dropped and it snapped the acrylic tenon off. So I've actually fixed two acrylic pipes for him from drops. And at that point, I can just drill it out and put a Delrin tenon in it.
Okay. Any preference in epoxy for epoxying them together for those pipe makers out there that may not know?
I think there's a bunch of stuff. I use BSI. I use a 5-minute epoxy on some things, and then anytime you've got something that's going to be close to the heat, whether if you're putting in a stainless steel tenon or something like that for bamboo, it's good to use a 30-minute epoxy so it sets up longer and can handle the hotter temperature. Is the advice I was given.
Okay. Now, do you recommend putting a stainless steel tenon in bamboo? Is that kind of your go-to?
Yeah, I think a lot of people do it. Bamboo is for me is it's really tedious work with. There's a lot of drilling and then reaming, and then you've got to create the stainless steel tenons, and I kind of groove mine, and then I groove the mortise as well, just so there's spots for all that glue to set up and hold better.
Okay. Excellent. The follow up question is: have you ever done a P-lip stem, which I think was patented by Peterson back in the late 1800s? No, excuse me. Have you tried a P-lip system? This is Noah's question, and
I've never tried one. I have a few Petersons. Over the years, I've probably put back about 80 pipes in my collection. They're all in my friend gave me this old carpenter's tool chest back here, so all of my pipes are in there. Keeps them out of the sunlight so they don't oxidize. But I've never tried it. I've heard pros and cons. On some of the web forums, I've seen people cut them in half. I think for me personally, when you get an artisan pipe from a pipe maker and they've funneled that stem in there versus just the straight hole or the little half moon cut, that really distributes the smoke evenly across your palate. And there's arguments whether or not you can pick up additional flavors from that, but I think it makes a better smoking pipe. So I can't say that I've smoked a P-lip, and I probably will never try and make that because I'm sure there's some specialized tooling that goes along with that.
Okay, excellent. Tim, what other questions do you have for Anthony? I love listening to you guys talk about making pipes, by the way. I just sit here and quietly enjoy the conversation.
On your I do. On your finishes, what I used to go directly to, for finish coat. Now, not referring to putting down dye for a contrast, creating a contrast color in the soft grain, but the overcoat, the tint coat. I used to use just straight dye, but I've kind of gotten away from that and gone to very, very diluted color. So let's say, I put down a cordovan or something like that, or a russet, and then I want to put a light brown over that. I cut it. I couldn't even tell you. It's more by sight, sort of like if you could see through it. That's the sort of the ratio of denatured alcohol and the dye, and then I'll just start putting on thin coats and just bring the color up very slowly, so that I don't get blotchiness. Because sometimes you put too much on and then you've gone too far and now you're sanding it all back down again. And if I found that if I bring it up very slowly, I get a better result that way. It's evener, and it seems like the contrast comes through better. And I was just wondering, how do you get to the shades that you're trying to achieve?
I've tried a lot of stuff, and I can't say that I've even perfected my methods yet. When I first was doing tons and tons of research, I was watching every YouTube video. I was waiting for my lathe that got back ordered, right as COVID was rolling out. And so I watched, God, there was a guy, I don't remember it now, but he did a lot of restorations, and he was big into that layering on different colors with your different intensities in the alcohol dye mixture. And you see like some of current professional pipe makers, it sure looks like they're just putting straight dye right on.
Right.
So I think I always try and do a contrast, and that's usually a black or a dark brown base coat, and then I sand that off. And I really am still learning because, I know as you probably have played around with, it's learning how the different colors bleed together.
All right.
When you put them on. Like you can put on a dark base and then turn around and wipe one quick coat of your next color on. But if you do two coats, all of a sudden that stuff starts bleeding together. And I don't know if that's just inherent of the leather dye, but sometimes I usually will dry sand and I will wet sand as well. Especially, I usually do a full black coat or a dark brown to see if I've got any mistakes or I missed some sanding, and then I'll sand that all back out. And, right now I kind of play around with, I go full strength and I wipe down with water to thin out the color so I can get a contrast going between like the base and the bottom. I'm working on this. It's not my office here, but I'm working on this pipe for a guy that wanted a purple pipe, and so it's a really black base that took a shitload of sanding to kind of get that all those blacks to work out, and then I've kind of feathered in the purple. So it's when it's darker, it's looks black, but when you put it under the light, it shines purple. And I just watched some videos actually of I watch a lot of luthier videos, and so I watched some methods on how they sting guitars and have and tried that on this pipe. So
It's interesting because I just made for Dan Robert. He wanted a pipe, and this is the stem's purple, and so this is I put down um, burgundy, and then
mm-hmm.
I put down dark blue on it, and it turned out black. And so I wiped it all down with denatured alcohol, and then and it was still kind of black. So I put another coat of blue on, just straight out of the bottle, and then took a and put a coat of like ox blood over that, and then I started to get purple. Because you notice if you put a dye on, let's say it's black, even black, you put black on, and if you heat it with the heat gun to try to set the dye, or you add flame, apply flame to it. There's all kinds of there's greens in there, red. You can, depending upon the wavelength of light that you've got coming into your shop, you can see. It's like when you look at a mallard duck, the wings or the head, it looks like one color and then it looks like another color. It's just got all these different colors in it, and sometimes you got to just. I'm just guessing, and I tried the ox blood, which is a lighter shade of red, and it brought up the purple,
Yeah.
and then and then another coat of blue, and then I even took blue tinted shellac for the last. Did I do? Yes, some blue tinted shellac, and put that over it, and it held the color. And then when I buffed it out, it's the color's holding on it. So it's all because I was getting close to just taking a rag with denatured alcohol and just wipe it all down and just start over again. And
Yeah, I think if you
so it took,
Steve Norris at Vermont Freehand has like a this black that is more of a true black than the original um, black leather dye. That it definitely has some purple and blue in it. So I've been using that for like a base coat. And then the weird thing is I kind of got on this kick and I wanted some falcons, and they're hard to get here in the US. So in a roundabout way, I had a friend in England that sent me some, and I changed the stems. I made stems for them, and then I sandblasted a bowl, and the one I got was blue, and so I put blue Feeblings dye on it, and blue and brown make purple, and it was this weird iridescent, and it sucked, and so I had to like reblast it, and so it's kind of weird. Some colors just don't take to the wood. Maybe they
yeah.
do with leather, and but other colors are great, like your oranges and yellows and browns palette, but
Yeah, that pipe that I held up at one point, it was copper color. It's just really strange, kind of a purple coppery color. I thought that's kind of cool. I'd be the only kid on the block that has one like that, I can tell you. But that kind of wasn't what he wanted, so I kept at it until I found, got what I was looking for.
Well, let me ask the two pipe makers. Do you have people asking for unique colors? And the reason I ask, in our Pipe Spores and Pal Leagues, Kevin Foster from Foster Handmade took this unicorn glittery dye, and he's making a pipe for whoever comes in last, and it's purple. And I thought, that's real. I mean, and when I say it's purple, I mean it's like Prince, Purple Rain kind of purple. I mean, it's all in on the purple. And I thought, that really looks cool. And you just don't see very many colored pipes out there. Is that just not something you'll ever see catching on? Or are there just too many traditionalists that like, wood grain?
I think there's a lot of traditionalists. From my, little bit limited experience being a new pipe maker. But if you look at like the major websites across the world, there's not anyone really selling a bunch of colored pipes, and that's probably a better question for one of the retailers. But when I got asked to do this purple pipe, I actually got the stem here, and it's a limited edition ebonite. So it's a really nice stem, and then I used an accent, but then I was like, do I make it black? Like, how do I do it, but how do I not overdo it? Was the approach that I chose. So.
All right.
Yeah. Well, and I've been asked to. So for example, I've got a lot of pipes on my website, and when I take a photograph, the color that shows up on like for example, this particular pipe. See that stem? Me looking at it right here, that is like a tangerine orange. But when you look at it, and I'm looking on the screen, it looks more yellow.
Yeah.
And but it's a very vivid orange, and so the pictures that come across that get uploaded to my website, they don't always come through as the color that I see when I'm looking at it with the naked eye. And I've had folks ask for commissions. Hey, remake number 7823 in just that color. And you've got a lot of things that are in play. One is what's the actual color of that pipe, and then you've got the underlying, the substrate, the briar. Some of it is redder, some of it's blonder, and those colors come through and will impart a blend with the dye that you're putting on to come up with a different result. So you're always you're trying to steer the color, and you can't you just can't always get it. And so that could be part of the reason why people don't traffic in colored pipes, because it's just really hard to get that consistently time after time after time. That's been my
and I've had
experience.
some people ask me for colored pipes, and I don't feel that I do it well, but I feel that there are people that do that well, and I don't know how they do it. I'm assuming that maybe some of that could even be airbrushed or sprayed on. So I've had a couple people want a colored pipe, and I've actually recommended, I think Chris Kelly with Eldridge Pipes, he makes his own colored resins, and he does a fantastic job of adding color to a pipe. I think Brian Orton, if I'm saying his last, Orton Pipes, he is very successful at adding color. So I've actually passed on a few commissions and directed them to pipe makers that I feel that are strong in a colored pipe, and is going to get them better than I can. So
Yeah.
All right.
My caveat is always I'll try my
not the
best, but
business model,
no,
but just trying to be honest, and hopefully they can really find what they're looking for.
right.
Okay.
In my caveat, I'll tackle just about anything, but my caveat's always I'll try my best, but I can't promise that it's going to come out that way. It's. Uh, but to your point, that's probably the better way to do it is to, send it to somebody that is really good. If that's what they want, deep down they want a particular colored pipe. Send it to somebody that can achieve that.
All right.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm sure there's more. I find new pipe makers, or new pipe makers follow me that I've never heard of, like weekly on Instagram. So, but those two guys really stick out as people that have mastered bright colors and stuff like that. So,
Okay.
Hey, I have
Well,
one other question for you. Have you ever considered? I was just thinking about this the other day. Um, trying lacquer as a finish, eh, final coat finish, like Deftane or something like that. I wonder what that would how that would perform.
I haven't. I started out messing around with some shellacks that I got from Primal, and I was doing shellacks on my blasts and stuff like that. There's the age-long debate whether or not a shellac will, you know, let a pipe breathe, and that's you could do a whole episode on that probably. But I have switched to I use a Danish oil almost exclusively. I do use shellac for a few things. I I've heard that there are pipe makers and some of the Danish that do add like a lacquer or varnish coat. Most of my background, it's really weird. Everything I learned about finishing wood from high school on, and I've got books on it and everything. I kind of had to unlearn because pipe seem to be in the tradition of pipe makers is a little bit different on how they do their coats. But some woods are really weird that don't absorb oils, and like Paduke or I think Osage or some of those orangish woods I've had problems with, like the whole pipe will be dry, and it'll take 5 extra days for
Yeah,
uh cocobolo to dry on it. So it's like, well, should I really use a varnish on that because the oils aren't just setting up? And I've kind of found that's kind of by wood species. So
okay. All right. Well, this is the Pipe and Tobacco Talk podcast.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I just want to ask you, what type of tobacco do you prefer? What are you smoking currently? Just tell us about your tendencies and trends in pipe tobacco.
I think I smoke almost everything, and some of that's dependent on mood and year. I grew up smoking a lot of Virginias, and something happened like, I don't know, like 3 years ago, and I would just get mouth burnt. And so I kind of switched to smoking more burleys, and that seemed to kind of help out with what was ever going on. And I just, down in Edwards, actually, there's a bunch of old pipe smokers, and a guy was talking about a method that he used where you kind of open your mouth and breathe through your nose, and it naturally draws in the smoke through the pipe as well. And I tried that with some Virginias, and it didn't burn my mouth. So I kind of, I'll smoke Virginias, some Englishes, it really across the board. Some arrows. I've been breaking in a lot of pipes, and there's a Cornell and Deals founding fathers that is a really light arrow, and that stuff just burns to fine ash. And I use it for breaking in pipes because it does a real nice bowl coat and gets that cake on there and doesn't ghost it. So,
all right, excellent.
Good.
Man, what a great conversation. It was so interesting to hear the two of you talk about, pipes and finishes and sandblasting, because I think that's part of the pipe community. Here I've got two pipe makers talking about sharing ideas. Just fantastic. So I appreciate all the information. I can't do any of that, but I have other interests. So excellent. So Anthony, if you'd like to stick around, we're going to do. So there's 4 segments on the show after we do the interview. The what's new. Tim talks about the new pipes that he's made. I talk about things that I've added to my collection. Then we talk about tobacco a little bit, and then we talk about. We have a segment called Ask Us Anything. So. And we've got some great questions. So if you want to stick around with us, you're more than welcome to. If you want to jump off, that's up to you.
sure, I'll stick around and hang out with you guys. It's been a great conversation so far.
All right.
Yeah,
excellent.
Alrighty.
All right. Tim, what did you make this week?
Well, okay. Let's again here. I made a Danish egg. This one is it's on the website now. I had some of that orange, really pretty orange. It's got a white swirl in it. It's acrylic, and I had this stumble cut out, so I went ahead and finished this up. And then for Dan, Mr. Dan, the one that we just looked at here, he wanted a sort of a bent Dublin. And then I've got started working on the Christmas pipes, and like what we were talking about with colors and that sort of thing. So if you go too bold with something, then you're pretty much committed. And my concern with a Christmas pipe is you don't want it to be just, okay, I smoked this at Christmas. So you want something that I think you have the red and green Christmas colors, but it's really kind of an everyday pipe. And so this is some really cool. It's like a pine green and white swirl. This comes from it's a Cumberland.
That company,
stem. Yeah, that company. God, man, Swiss cheese head. So anyway, there's that one.
Words hard.
Word hard. And then this is another hard words. Another Christmas is going to be a bent roadie with there's a green and red band here and a black Cumberland stem on it. This will have a slight bend to it, some plateau on the top.
Oh, nice.
Yada yada. This will be another smooth, with a contrast dye. And then you have your this is what is this a Lorenzo. And this pipe has that the re-stem. This pipe has that real broad shank.
Yeah, that funky shape that Lorenzo did. Yep.
Yeah, and I couldn't find anything that was wide enough to cover that whole thing. So this stem is actually a piece of briar, and it goes well with it. And the whole thing's briar. The tenon's briar, but it's got a stainless steel tube in it.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah, it'll hold up nice. And you always put those sponge or the rubber bits on there. You put the condoms on the end of your stems, so that'll yeah. So there you have it. That's
And by the way, I get a lot of flack for that, and I don't care.
I know. You got a saber tooth.
Yeah, I do. It's bad. And, the way I look at it is that it's more comfortable for me. I don't bite through your gorgeous stem work. And, the next person that inherits my collection doesn't have a bunch of my chatter marks in it. Because when you start restoring pipes and you're sanding out chatter, and you find out, hey, if I take one more stroke with this piece of sandpaper, I'm going to be, it's going to be a not a P-lip. It would be like yeah. Yeah. Where does the smoke come out? About 2 inches from the top. So
it comes out everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a fog machine. So, all right. Excellent.
Boy, it smokes. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Mitchell at MBST Pipes and MDSTpipes.com has a new line of Meerschaum that I'm absolutely enamored with. And why I like this Meerschaum so much is because it's got a briar cap on the stummel. So you actually get a real tenon on the pipe. And I do like Meerschaum pipes a great deal. And I've restored a couple. And that Delrin screw-in tenon is just, it's kind of a nightmare because once, while you're smoking it, it gets hot and the Delrin will expand a little bit and you have to let the pipe cool down and then it shrinks. And a lot of times on those Delrins, they'll work themselves loose and you're always having to play with them. And when I was talking with Mitchell about this, he said, yeah, we brought these in and I think they're game changing. And he started showing me some of them. So, yeah, go ahead and send that tall stack billiard to me. That'll be fantastic. So that's what's new in my collection.
Nice.
And by the way, Anthony, I meant to bring this up earlier. This is one of the coolest, Castle Briars. It looks like a rook. Absolutely fantastic. Got your name and logo up on the top. Just a cool little pipe tamper. And I can't,
one of my good friends has a fabrication shop here in Colorado called Canyon Fabrications and Mountain Metal. He makes and anodizes parts for snowmobiles and dirt bikes, and he makes big rings and stuff like that for snowmobiles. So, and does a lot of custom work. So he kind of we came up with that tamper. And I had a version 1 that didn't have rounded edges that tore the finish off my couple lighters. So that's version 2.0. He actually just shipped me another kind of bag of some reds and blues. So he's going to be getting his CNC lathe here, hopefully beginning of next year, and then I'll have prototype number 3 out and maybe have some for sale. But when I got some, I'll give them out with pipes. So.
Nice, excellent.
Those are really cool.
All right, let's talk a little bit about those are sharp. We'll talk about tobacco. So, as you know, in last week's episode, I talked about nearly killing Mike from Bishop Pipes using only clove, nutmeg, and a little bit of cinnamon.
Razor blades. Did you grind up razor blades and put that in there?
Yeah, it's glass beads. Tim sends me the shrapnel from his blast cabinet, and I put that in, and hoping that doesn't cause some type of lung disorder.
Remember when my granddaughter suggested that you put glitter in the tobacco? Make a tobacco blend with glitter, and you said, I don't know, might be lethal, but it's worth a try. And I'm thinking, we should send that to Mike.
Yeah. Mike, here's the glitter fairy blend, inspired by Tim's granddaughter. So Kane, a longtime participant in the show, contacted me and said, hey, there's a new Turkish bitters that's out. And you really need to take a look at it because I think it's going to hit the mark because it's clove and nutmeg has those flavors in the bitters. And that'll show up tomorrow, I think. And we'll give that a try. And so you all know, when I blend tobaccos, I struggle with glycopropyl alcohol. That's typically the carrier that they use. Like when they mix up blends, when they get a flavoring, they'll mix it with glycopropyl alcohol to put it on the tobacco. And it gives me terrible tongue bite. So I try to avoid that at all costs. And I'll tell you, you brought up something interesting, Anthony, when you were saying you were struggling with Virginias about 3 years ago. And one of the things that I found is that they're doing a lot more casings on them now to try to alter the flavors. And the big thing that I've seen lately that I've seen a ton about is that they'll do a distilled water and sugar combination, and then put a little apple cider vinegar in it. And I think that that's, yes, it does make the tobacco sweeter. Yes, it increases tongue bite exponentially. And I've seen that a lot in Virginia blends from the big houses. So
That's interesting. Yeah, maybe that plays a part in it. Yeah, I think you and I had that big conversation about shag tobaccos and what happened to them. I think on some of the shows, like Steve Norris has brought the old, 50, 60-year-old cigarettes to the shows, and it's all just shag, and it's amazing. Even being in that sealed metal can for 50 years, they don't kind of make tobacco like that. But you and I have had a couple conversations of what happened to the shag.
Yeah, in fact, when I bought my heavy duty shredder, I purposely got the 8mm or the 0.08 millimeter, which is a very fine cut. And I did that for two reasons. One, I like how when you press it, it melds the flavors quicker. And two, I think that it burns better. You get a quicker light. It fires up more quickly. You're not relighting it constantly because it's fine enough where you're getting airflow across the tobacco, and I think it represents the flavors well. So almost everything I'm making now, will be 8mm. That 0.08 millimeter, which is a very fine cut, just because I like it better. All right, now we're into Ask Us Anything, and I've got two experts here, and we're going to talk about stuff. So our friend Lance, he's one of our 5 listeners. By the way, apparently we've graduated from 2s and 3s of listeners to 5 listeners now. So we're very excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And he's yeah. So Lance, here we go. I've really been enjoying the podcast. I'm one of the 5 listeners every week. Had a thought the other day and wanted to ask, do you guys feel like brick and mortar shops are a dying facet of the industry? If so, why do you think it is going that way? I find them to be a very necessary part of the hobby, but we hear of them closing all too often. No one knows what kind of new rules the government might come up with in the future. I'm aware of the concerns in tighter internet sales control. That being said, the importance of new brick and mortar shops begins to shine. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. We'll start with you, Tim. What are you thinking?
Well, there's a guy over in Canton. He's got it's a combination, an amalgamation, if you will, of hobbies. It's like the cool. He should be called the Cool Men Shit Store, because he's got fishing tackle, fly rods and reels, pipe tobacco, cigars, pipes. It's a really cool place. I'll put if I can't remember the name of the STEM material supplier that I work with every day. I'm not going to remember the name of this place on the podcast, but I'll get it and I'll put it in the show notes below. But that's a really cool place. So my thought is, if we see more propping up, maybe the winning combination is, not just focused on one thing, but more of a broad appeal of, hobby type appeal. He's got a lounge in there, so it's people that have the same sort of pastimes and passions that they sit around, they smoke their cigars, smoke your pipes, talk about fishing and fly gear and that kind of thing. So it's kind of a neat concept, and he's doing real well, as I understand. It's been in it for a long time.
No. All right, Anthony, your thoughts?
I guess a lot of my kind of history is, I moved here in 97, and there was 5 substantial big brick and mortars with some other ones that mostly had cigars and a little pipe tobacco. Some did their own blending. Some, just renamed other blends from the big blenders and stuff. But I think we saw even prior to COVID, there was Tweaksberry and Co. that was really popular downtown, and they closed. There was Prince Albert's, and they closed, and there was another place called Jerry's, and it closed. So Edwards was really the still the largest, and they do have a huge cigar, humidor and stuff. But Jerry's actually reopened earlier this year, which is great. And I was down at Edwards a couple weeks ago. The Pipe Club meets Saturday mornings, and that was the first time that I've been there where there were three kids in their 20s came in and bought their first pipe, and some tobacco, and came in the back where the lounge was, and there's a lot of the old timers that were just passing on knowledge on smoking and keeping the bowl lit. And I think that's the challenge for new people. So it's great to have those venues where people can come and learn and have the camaraderie and stuff like that. So that was the first time that and there was other people buying pipe tobacco. That was the first time that I've seen more people buy pipe and pipe tobacco than cigars. So that's really encouraging.
Okay. I have some very strong thoughts on this. So there was a little tiny place in Moore that it was a cigar shop, and they had all the Sutliff. You buy it by the pound, and they put it in a jar, and they gave it a different name, but they were all Sutliff blenders. And I think if you're going to focus on cigar and pipes only, the first thing you have to do is make yourself unique in the marketplace. What made old time tobacconists and why I loved the old time tobacconists is because they had their own blends. They actually blended them there. I mean, when you look at the story of McClellan's and the legendary status that they have, well, what did they do that was different? Well, they blended their own tobaccos. They had a web presence. They just got out of the business. Okay. They're still legendary. People are still buying it. And if you look at who's really successful now, like Milan Tobacconist, Boswell's, Country Squire, Watch City, Just for Him, they both have some things in common. All five of them do their own blending for pipe tobaccos. All five of them offer artisan pipes from artisan pipe makers. Now, obviously, Boswell's, JM still makes pipes, and I have a fine collection of Boswell pipes. But they set themselves apart because in today's internet world, smoking pipes, four noggins, pipes and cigars, if you're going to try to compete with them, you're going to lose every time because, okay, so I'm going to order 610s, and it's going to be $95 and they're both going to ship it for free. Or, you're going into the local tobacconist who has overhead in his business, and people are still going to buy, but they're not going to buy with the volume. So you have to do something that differentiates yourself. And when you talk about, okay, what do I have to do to get into blending? Okay, well, Sutliff sells blenders by themselves. C&D sells blenders by themselves that you can get and get started and create your own blends and have an actual tobacconist that can help. Every pipe and tobacco store I've been in the last 5 years has been heavy on the cigar side. And I think we're seeing less people smoking cigars, which is what's, I think, harming their business. And again, as cigar prices continue to climb, when I started smoking cigars in Tucson back in 2003, 2002, whatever it was, you could get a really good stick for $5 or $6. And right now, to get a really good stick is like, you're starting at $14 and going up from there. Okay, well, I understand you have to have a profit margin, you have to make it. But still, I think that's curtailing in the cigar industry. The last thing is you have to develop a web presence and a reason for people to be interested in you. Why I really liked Country Squires because they had their own podcast. They did 500 episodes and decided to give it up. But that kept people interested in Country Squire. And, Tim and I do this podcast just because we end up laughing all night long and just doing stupid stuff. But that's what keeps people interested. If we can provide information to help people, great. And that's what these little mom and pop shops do. And, when you talk about the cost of a website, it's not particularly expensive, and you build your brand by differentiating yourself in the marketplace. And that's what I would do. That's kind of my thought on it.
Well, I was thinking, like the one that I talked about, it's actually called the Pipe Rack in Akron, Ohio. And they've got a website and that kind of thing. But the thing that makes them a little bit different is that it's a destination point. It's something so different. The concept is so different that and it appeals to a certain demographic of people who, and the interests sort of align. Fly fishing and smoking a pipe.
Mm-hmm.
They're both sort of
Jay
solitary.
Furman.
Yeah, that's his shtick.
Jay Furman,
right?
from Pipe and Tamper. Yeah, I'm going fly fishing this weekend, and he posts 20 pictures of him fly fishing and smoking a pipe.
Right.
It's hard because, like you said, the brick and mortars, especially in Colorado, there's tobacco taxes. I definitely, there's Wilkie and Yuki or something like that up north. So I respect what they're doing and definitely having their own blends. I travel for work, and that's if I go into a new shop. I was in Cincinnati for multiple trips and went to a shop there, and that's kind of like my first question is, can I try one of your blends? And it seems that that's dying out because a lot of places are selling cigars or they don't have their own tobacconist. And, I find, at least like with some of the places I go, I might pay a premium, but that 10 might have sat there for a year or two. And so, I'm paying for them cellaring that tobacco for me, versus getting, fresh leaf, which is maybe better for an arrow. But so I think there's different ways to look at that.
Yeah. Well, when I met you at Edwards, I picked up 2 tins of Accountant mixture and 2 tins of Marlin Flakes from Rat Race, which is impossible to get, and both of them were over 3 years old. It's like, all day. I will snatch those up and be happy as I can be.
Also find some stuff there that is maybe some of the big online guys don't have. Like, I have some Peter Heinrich's Dark Strong, which I really like that. It's kind of a loose and a coin all mixed together. With that's been a good blend and stuff. But so you can find some out of the way stuff that your big houses don't have.
Yeah. No, I agree. But I think that's the key, is having that differentiation point. That they have to be an experience, and Tim talked about the pipe rack where they've got fly fishing reels, and that's great. If it works for him and he's bringing people in, perfect. But, and I'm certain that would work here in Colorado unbelievably well. This is fly fishing capital of, North America here.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Excellent. We do have another question from Noah, and I can't wait to have him on because Terry says he's got notes. He's already preparing notes for us. So Noah at Noah's House, do you sample every tobacco that you get? Do you make notes? Have you ever sent a shipment back? Yes, I sample every tobacco I get. Right now I'm testing that ripe Virginia flake that I got. So the first thing I do is I'll smoke it in 3 or 4 different pipes to see what kind of mouthfeel it has, see what kind of flavor profile I'm getting from it. I do make notes. I have a little red notebook here that I keep on hand that I write the notes in. And then I start pairing it with different things. Okay, how does it respond with a little perique in it? How does it respond with a little burley in it? How does it respond with cigar flake? And then I start to make pairings, and start to think about, okay, where will this fit in what I want to do, what I'm trying to do. So, yes. Have I ever sent a shipment back? No, I haven't. I haven't. I get Leaf Only sends me stuff that's so dry. If you breathe on it too hard, it will break apart. So rehydrating has been, a part of what you have to do, especially the Orientals. They come in just so bone dry that it's impossible to shred them. You can put them in the shredder. Shredder eats them up, but it turns it into, Krumavgrad dust, which is not particularly useful. But no, I haven't sent anything back yet. Now, I do have some stuff that I don't use in any blends. Like I have some African Cameroon cigar leaf that is dreadful. I've got it sitting in the closet. I'm going to age it for a couple of years and see what it does. But it didn't, the flavor description didn't match the profile at all. And that happens, because everybody's palate's different. The key to being a decent blender is understanding how things go together. And maybe in time it'll have a flavor that I can work with. And if it doesn't, then okay.
Do you ever notice that you never find a cigar that is retail priced above $1.95 that has a Cameroon wrapper?
Yeah, truly. I haven't had a cigar since I left Tucson, so it's been 10 years now since I've had a cigar. And that's kind of what chased me. What really chased me away is the price,
Yeah. I'm just joking. I don't, hell, there could be, I'm not a cigar smoker, so there could be high-end cigars that have a Cameroon wrapper on it. I just never seen one.
I got some stuff here, but man, it's so dry, and I was spending more in Bavita packs to keep them at humidity than I did on cigars. So now I just go out. I feel like one, I go grab one out of the humidor, and it's always nice and fresh. But I have a coworker that's got about 400, and it's like a multi-stage process between they get from the shop to the curing to the final. And he's got to keep them in an igloo cooler here, sealed tight with a rubber gasket so they just don't dry out. But Jim, have you experienced any of that with the Colorado weather now that it's even drier in winter?
Oh yeah. So yeah, that is a problem here in Colorado. Tobacco will dry out. So that's why I keep everything sealed in mason jars. And for the blenders, you can't see it, but I have the 64 ounce mason jars, and I'll keep those sealed up and in the dark corner of the room so light can't get to it, because it will dry out and it's different. And pressing here, when I press blends, it's completely different than in South Carolina. South Carolina, high humidity, stuff just didn't dry out, and it was very easy to get good compression. And here, it's a little more difficult. In fact, one of my customers sent me this fantastic 3-page email that I have framed. It's the greatest email I've ever written. He is a PhD chemist for the government, and he said, okay, because I was complaining about it on one of the videos I have on my YouTube channel, that I was really struggling with compression and getting some things. And he sent me this letter that detailed why it's doing what it's doing. And what was really interesting, when I moved to Colorado, some of the flavor profiles changed for me. They taste different here than they did in South Carolina. And it spawned a rash of creativity where I came out with some different blends and things that I typically wouldn't blend together. Because of either the changes in my palate or the changes of being at elevation. And here in Parker, I think I'm just under 6,000 feet. I think I'm 5,900 feet here. So, completely different than South Carolina, where I was at 300 feet. Just different.
Yeah, I find I keep all my stuff jarred, and it turns to sawdust pretty fast. And the first pipe show I went to was Virginia, and I did a blending class. and everything. And they just had big, huge tubs of tobacco just like wide open. And I kind of had like a panic moment from living in Colorado for 25 years that it's like, oh my God, all this tobacco is going to go bad. And I put some lids on it, and then I realized that it's like 80% humidity and just fine.
Yeah, everything's going to be okay in Virginia. So,
Yeah.
all right. Are you ready, Tim, for the contest?
I'm ready for the contest. Which
All right.
contest?
So tonight we are giving away this beautiful Kamoy Zulu rusticated, absolutely fantastic pipe. I can vouch for this pipe because I have the smooth version of it. Absolutely love it. And again, MBSD was kind enough to donate this pipe to the contest. And what we ask is that you send us your favorite drink and tell us why you like it so much. And I have 9 pages of responses like this. Tim, did you get responses?
I got one response.
All right. Well, do you want to read your response now, and we'll go from there?
Yeah, I can tell you what it was. It was a Everclear and pickle juice. And I asked the guy, please don't write to me anymore. Forget my email address.
Blocked. Blocked. No,
That was completely completely cruel. Because I tried it. I mixed it and I tried it. And I passed out when the pickle got stuck in my throat.
Well, there's some classes you can take for that, Tim. So, okay. So,
and I woke up naked in the men's room at the Greyhound bus station.
Hands tied to your ankles. Yep, those are rough evenings.
And they found the pickle.
Yeah, I'll bet they did. All right. So I'm going to read from Facebook first. So Patrick, and I don't want to say anybody's last name. But it's he's also on Instagram as well. His favorite spirit, the smoothest tequila I've ever had. I truly enjoy it unchilled and neat. It's enjoyable to sip with a good English blend smoke. And he likes Juan Lobo Anejo tequila. Patrick, a man after my own heart. Andre sent us a recipe, and I believe this is a Manhattan. It's 2 ounces of rye whiskey, and he prefers Redemption rye. 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, Carpano Antica formula. 2 dashes of Angostura bitters, 1 dash of orange bitters, 1 maraschino, preferably a Luxarado, for garnish. Why do I like it? It's good, and it's where I was born. Mix the ingredients minus the garnish in a cocktail shaker with ice, strain into a chilled cocktail glass, and put the cherry in. And then Eric came up with this: low carb Monster and Jägermeister with any pipe tobacco. And if you drink enough Jägermeister, you could smoke a small shoe, toaster shakens, doesn't matter. Jaeger, no. I'm sorry, Eric. That's not going to be a winner. Jaeger. Jaeger's one of those things that I can drink it. I don't particularly enjoy it because it's got that weird, like, almost like a medicinal taste to it. But if I'm going for blackout, I'll grab Jaeger or I'll grab Fireball, if I just want to be completely obnoxious. And now let's get into the Instagram responses, which was overwhelming. So thank you all so much. Favorite mixed drink is a smoked maple old fashioned made with Woodford Reserve. Zombie Runner 71 sent that in. Interesting. Jay Delaney sent in, my favorite spirit, I would have to say, is bourbon neat. Man after my own heart, Mr. Delaney.
Can't go wrong there.
He likes several of the Henry McKenna's, Woodford Reserve, Double Oaked. I do dabble in Scotch. Dalwhinnie 15 and Caribbean Cask 14 year are great. Well done, Mr. Delaney. Well done. BT Pipe, smoky peated Islay Scotch, neat. Like a pipe, sipped and savored to enjoy the full experience.
No.
Quinn 277 or 2277, Scotch neat. I don't think you need the recipe. No, I don't. I like Scotch neat too. Tinker's Pipes, a good Scotch straight up. It seems like there's now starting to become a theme here. V for Fendito, my absolute favorite is an Italian Amaro called Vici Amaro del Capo on the rocks. It's hard to find in bars, restaurants outside of Italy, so my other go-to is an old-fashioned. Do you know what Italian Amaro is? Any idea?
No, I have no
Does that
idea.
ring a bell for anybody? No. Oh. All right. There you go. Fat Kid Fish. I like plain old whiskey ginger. Crown Royal, Northern Harvest Rye, Verner's, and a lime slicer too. That's kind of interesting. A whiskey ginger.
Yeah.
Well,
sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds pretty tasty.
Sometimes the simpler
Piper
the better.
Down. Yeah, you don't have to complicate things. Piper Down 14, mezcal with pineapple juice and a twist of lime. Also enjoy bourbon neat, again the recurring theme, on the rocks or an old fashioned. Hard to pick just one. I know, isn't it a pain in the butt? And by the way, Anthony turned me on to Law's Bourbon, which is made locally here in Colorado. And this is 4-grain bourbon, and I absolutely love it. If you like a good bourbon whiskey, Anthony and I both vouch for Law's 4-grain bourbon. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
it's interesting because you got the extra grain, so you can kind of pick up that wheat and stuff like that. It's interesting.
It was delicious, and I just went on blind faith and absolutely love it. Just to good bourbon. I love it a lot.
Good stuff.
Von K Pipes. Go ahead, Tim.
No. Actually, it sounds like it's good stuff.
Yeah, it is. And Costco has it, and they're fairly reasonable. So
yeah, that's a good place to get it. Man, I love good tequilas, but I tried a couple mezcals, and maybe I didn't try the right type because it was like breathing fire while you're on fire, while you're coughing on fire.
Everything's fine. We're all on fire now. I
to finish it off.
I lived in Tucson for a long time. And one of the really cool things I got to do was go to a tequila tasting class, because prior to that, my tequila tasting was Jose, where you make that kind of face when you drink it. It's like, oh, this is really tasty. Thank God for the salt and lime. But I just never, I discovered Añejo tequila, which I absolutely love. But mezcal, I can't get there.
I've got
when I was between 18 and say 20. Here we go.
I got a bottle of mezcal from Mexico, and it was actually barrel aged, and that really cut down the smoke and the heat versus the Blanco, and I really enjoy that one. But the Blancos, it's not my poison.
Nah, no, Blanco tequilas.
Too green for me.
Yeah. No,
and the mezcal, the good thing is that you get the worm. There is the worm at the bottom of the mezcal bottle. Can't discount that.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Also, no. No. I prefer my insects in the yard where they belong. Von K Pipes, Jameson and Squirt on the rocks. Truly one of the easiest drinks to drink any day. Thank you, sir.
I'll give him that. Sure.
Yeah, we'll let that go. Young Brahms, a shot of Fernet Branca after a heavy meal. Every time you taste Fernet, it gets better. If you know, you know. Anybody know what that is? Any clue?
I do not.
All right. Research to be done. Not Able One. I love this, and this is Kane, by the way. So Kane, always participating in the show. We can't say thank you enough. I love this drink from a local spot here in Peoria. It's a mix of rum, rye, black walnut bitters, maple syrup, and a smoked cinnamon stick.
He had me until the cinnamon.
I really like cinnamon, but I prefer it on pastries. Kind of, you know. And I'm a little gun shy of cinnamon after the Bishop blend. So,
Understand.
Okay, now, yeah, Rad Pipes sent us a dissertation. My grandfather raised me for the first half of my life, and even though he was a beanpole of a man, I always remember him being tough as railroad nails. For goodness sakes, he cleaned septic tanks for a living. Funny that he was so thin because he slammed back 3 giant meals a day as if he were a 400-pound lumberjack. My grandma kept him well fed too, with plates stacked with bacon, franks, steaks, and all the trimming. Along with his meals, he'd often whip up a drink that seemed like it'd put more hair on your chest than a bearskin rug. He called it the meat rocket. Anytime you call something a meat rocket, you've got my attention. Okay.
This is going to be good.
It is. Okay, so 3/4 glass of bourbon. Nothing fancy. Seemed like the higher proof, the better. Gramps often used wild turkey, occasionally Jim Beam, or both. A giant splash of Worcestershire sauce. At least 5 good hard taps on the bottle. A heavy soup spoon worth of beef stock, usually from whatever was simmering on the stove. A dash of salt. Freshly cracked black pepper, served over olives in a whiskey glass, often with an extra crispy stick of bacon or a blackened chicken wing as a garnish. To Gramps. You know,
I'm not sure what to make of that. Honestly,
I know what to make. Rad Pipe's grandfather had balls the size of church bells. This was a tough man. I am duly impressed.
he probably had to drink that to get the smell of the septic tank out of his nose. You know?
Yeah, probably. But man, that's kind of impressive. You know, beef stock, cracked pepper, Worcestershire sauce.
And he called it a meat rocket.
He called it a meat rocket. Yeah. I don't know that I would ever drink it, but I love the story behind it. You know, Grandpa.
It's a great story.
Nails.
That sounds like a thing you would want to watch. You know, you don't want to participate. You want to watch. Yeah.
Oh yeah. For ringside seats for that one. Grandpa's going to put a couple of the way of these after dinner. Wow.
3/4 of a glass, and then with all that other stuff, and then put a blackened chicken wing in it.
Yeah.
Because when you said bacon, I'm like, all right, well, it's starting to tick up a little bit. But then you went to the blackened chicken wing, and I was like, I don't know.
That's a little voodoo.
Yeah,
I'm thinking Gramps has got to win the prize, though.
Oh, it's far and away the best story behind that, and he called it a meat rocket. So you got all of that,
and it's a meat rocket.
Yeah. My family time favorite is our Tom Collins happy hour, and this is from Toby Piper 365. Before the ladies start preparing dinner, the boys are usually outside finishing up the weekend chores. We would break out the good gin, highball glasses, and a blender. The ingredients: gin, used to be Beefeater, now an American gin called Conniption. Fresh lemons, club soda, and Prosecco. Not sure what Prosecco is. Honey, no simple sugar. I used to use local honey source, but now, because of Jeremy Reeves, I use Tupelo honey. Not as sweet, so it's perfect for a Tom Collins. Anybody know what Prosecco is? Any clue?
I've heard of it. I can't remember.
Yeah, not something that's crossed my palate. Jerry Halter sent in one called the Blood Orange Manhattan. 4 Roses small batch bourbon. Oh, we're going good so far. With a dash of 1883 blood red orange syrup. shaken, ice, served neat with a cherry. This goes with every tobacco I've ever smoked.
Sounds like it would.
Wow.
I think he's onto
Wow.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry, well done. You got me thinking about stuff now. Professor Torok, Lafrogue, 10-year-old Islay single malt scotch. Great by itself or paired with a solid English blend with a pinch of Latakia. There you go. Hammer and Pipe sent us this one. Thank you, Sean. We greatly appreciate it. My favorite drink is the first official tiki drink I mixed myself when I managed to get everything after the hassle the Communist ABC Commission put me through. 1941 original recipe from Don the Beachcomber called the Jet Pilot. Half ounce of fresh lime, half ounce of Falernum number 9. Anybody know what Falernum is?
No. Sounds like Brown 32.
Okay. Half ounce of Cointreau, 1.5 ounces of dark Jamaican rum, 3/4 of an ounce of light rum, a dash of Angostura bitters, 6 drops of Pernod, 8 ounces of crushed ice. 1 cup. Well,
Pretty complicated.
3 of the ingredients. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work. How do you like your things? Neat. Make it neat.
Yeah.
EMC Custom Cobs, a burrito, like bourbon, burrito. 1 ounces of bullet barrel-proof bourbon, 4 ounces of seltzer, muddled mint, lime, orange sliced, or a Cuties mini navel orange, 2 teaspoons of table sugar, blended and poured over ice. It's a twist on the classic mojito. So muddled mint is where you kind of smash it up a little bit, put a little water and pestle, or got to give it a little mushing. Interesting, Eric. Thank you. That is interesting. Here's the problem I have. When I put sugar with alcohol, intestinal malfeasance almost every time. I like my, I had one of those, what was that, fuzzy navels, where it was the peach schnapps and vodka. Right. Oh, and a little orange juice. Oh, yeah. Technicolor disasters.
Yeah.
No. Oh, Pat F. 1968. Oh, mini to pick one, given that I'm a lush. I would say Booker's. Just so much depth. There you go. I assume Booker's is a bourbon, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. The Buffalo Life Bourbon Neat. My favorite has still been the Penelope Bourbon Rose Cask. Can't beat it. Okay. Rosé. I think it's Rosé cask, right? I think it's a wine cask.
Yeah, right. Probably.
We'll go with that. Yeah. I don't want to call it a rose cask because it sounds like a funeral. Washburn 6 Strong. Favorite mixed drink? Just plain old whiskey and Coke. 1 part whiskey to 1.5 parts Coke. It goes with just about anything, especially a good pipe. All right. Alfonso the Trader.
Getting the 0.5 in there and getting that right would be tough for me.
Math hard.
You got the one, and then getting the could be 0.4, could be 0.6, and then you screw the drink up. It's no good.
Yeah.
Not for me.
No bueno. No. Alfonso the Trader. Celt Tour de Monde XO Cognac paired with a full body English or Oriental blend. Okay, we'll allow it. I'm not a big cognac fan. I don't like brandies and cognac. Sorry. When you're a kid and you have that experience in life with something, and I had a blackberry brandy experience. Nah.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Brian McMorris, bourbon neat or on the rocks, or if I'm feeling adventurous, maybe a highball. All right. Jimmy
Hey, the one
Stretch.
thing about if I can tell you though, the one thing about cognac is that it really does taste the same coming up as it does going down. That was my experience.
Yeah.
Almost exactly the
I've
same.
also haven't eaten. Yeah, I have also not eaten a blackberry since before I was 16. Since none. We're going on 40 some years now of no blackberries. I can't. Nope.
You could,
You
Oh, it's
know,
got
my
blackberries.
bottle in the fridge is cough syrup. It always had a cough, blackberry brandy.
There you go.
yeah,
See, now
yeah,
they give them Robitussin like it's something different. Oh, we're gonna give them
right.
Robitussin for a cough. Oh, just give them Jack Daniels and call it a day.
They just need to go to sleep.
Yeah. So Jimmy Streech, a friend of both Tim and I was an alcoholic before I turned 21, and not sure how many gallons of Seagrin 7 I consumed before it was time to quit. But if I added it all up, it would be quite frightening. And just room temp out of the bottle, nothing special or fancy.
Sounds like an alcoholic.
Yeah. Seagram 7. I don't even think grain was in the room when they made that stuff. It was like rough.
Would you say you have glycopropyl alcohol? Same thing.
Yeah, exactly. What are you going to use with that Seagram 7 for? Oh, I got some brake parts to clean. That'll be fine. Cleaning some industrial equipment. I use Seagrams. Urban Burler, Amaretto, and Dr. Pepper, served in a highball with plenty of ice, lots of sugar, but delicious.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, no. That's a
Nothing to
no
see
from
here.
me, dog. Move along. Chris Helms, my favorite spirit is Scotch, a Highland Scotch with Virginias, or an Islay with English or Balkans, and for cigars, a nice rum that's at least old enough to drive.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
Yeah. That was good. At least old enough to drive. That was excellent, Chris. Well done. Well done. Zombie Runner 71. Favorite mixed drink is a Smith. Did I read that one already? I think I did. And I read that one already. All right. Our Wandering Ways. Extra dirty gin martini with blue cheese stuffed olives. Our Wandering Ways.
Thank you for that. Next.
Why the F would you put blue cheese in any cocktail? Seriously. Oh, I wrapped it in an olive. Oh, great. That makes it better.
It's a sweat sock. No, it's not. It's blue cheese.
Oh, I have my high school gym shorts. Oh, great. Wrap it in an olive and put it in my drink. No. Connor McCain. Recently, a highball. 2 ounces of Japanese whiskey and 6 to 8 ounces of club soda in a glass full of ice. How do you guys feel about Japanese whiskey? Anybody on board with that? Is that a
Not for
thing
me.
for either one
Not
of
for
you?
me. Not for me.
I don't mind it. I think I've got some Hokiki, which I do like. It's a little bit more smoky, like a Scotch, and I think Sensei, but that's all I've got. That's all I've got. A little more Scotch-like.
Okay. All right. And then last, here's my drink, a gin and tonic. Hendrick's gin and a good floral tonic with fresh cut limes. Simple, clean, and refreshing. Thank you, Noah. All right.
That is.
Now we have to make the hard-hitting decision of what won the contest. Tim, do you have a favorite?
Meat Rocket.
Anthony, do you have a favorite?
I mean, it's hard to pass that up. You could have not even read the recipe, and I probably would have voted for it.
Then it was unanimous. Congratulations, Rad Pipe. I'll get in touch with you, get your address, and send you off this beautiful Comoy's pipe. Well done. what a great story. And far and away the most detail, it was half a page long.
That was great.
Talking about
it was great.
Yeah. My grandfather's hard as railroad nails, and this is what he drank every night. Well, yeah, exactly.
I was picturing this 165 pound, 6'2", kind of sinewy, old duffer with a pair of glasses on, the GI issue glasses with the band on them. He's got a wife beater on with, some stains, and he grabs that glass of that, slams it down.
I think I'll have me another.
He looks at Grandma and says, "Brace yourself, Martha."
Daddy's coming home tonight. All right. Excellent. The last thing I want to talk about. So Mike from Bishop Pipes has given us an Eric Nording to give away. And this is a very interesting Nording.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yeah. It's Dublinus. It's got a little bit of plateau on the top. It is just a truly interesting pipe. And again, it's an Eric Nording. So it's got that European flavor to it. Nording from Denmark, which I believe is still in Europe. I'm not sure. I'm American. No, we don't really.
Yeah.
We can't do geography or any of that stuff. And I thought, Tim, for that contest, to really make it fun, send us the worst song you've ever heard. Give me the title of the song and the artist, the song that comes on, and you absolutely hate it, and you just want to rip the radio right out of the car or throw your iPod into a pond. Give me that worst song. Just the one you hate the most.
Only one ground rule that because everybody, if we don't exclude this song, everybody's going to pick this song. Okay, so nobody can pick this song. It's got to be something other than My Sharona.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. Now, see, Tim, you and I are about the same vintage, and Anthony's just a little bit behind us. And if you remember AM radio from the mid 70s, Debbie Boone's "You Light Up My Life" makes me want to open an artery with a spoon. And they played that damn song just to death. It was so terrible. You couldn't, WLS was the radio station in Chicago that kind of dominated the AM airwaves. And they would play that thing once, sometimes twice an hour. And it went on for like 9 months. It's just, no, you don't light up my life, Debbie. No, you've brought a darkness over my life because of this terrible song. Anthony, do you have a song that absolutely makes you cringe and go?
I got a 9-year-old daughter, so as much as I can appreciate some old stuff that I don't care for, Kid Bop, I think is what it's called, and it's like my wife and I'll go to concerts, and my daughter's always upset because she can't go, and so my wife got tickets for Kid Bop at Red Rocks, and I was like, I can't do it. I'll lose a piece of my soul if the first concert. I would have took her to anything else for her first. But then my wife threw out, "Well, are you not going to go to your daughter's first concert?" So I sat through Kid Bop at Red Rocks, and it's like a big dance party, lip sync. They brought out like a cardboard white piano for them to pretend play. So something more modern, but yeah, that was
our deepest condolences. I'm so sorry you had to experience that for yourself.
But I do love, I've gone to tons of shows. It's one of my favorite things in life is concerts. So I've gone to a lot of shows, and that was the saddest.
That was not the pinnacle of your concert career. No,
it was not. Think of you know, David Gilmour at the Hollywood Bowl and all these other, great shows, and Tom Petty and
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah, growing up in Chicago in the winters, really all you got to, if you weren't going to the movies, you're going to a concert because the weather was just miserable and, there's nothing else to do. Let's go sledding. No. Oh, we could go skiing. It's Indiana. What are you going to do? Ski down your driveway? I mean, an elevation change like a 312 pitch roof. Whee! Black Crowes, Tom Petty, seen Genesis, Jethro Tull, just some amazing artists. And I just want this contest to be a hoot. So we're going to go with the worst song, your least favorite song. Send it to us to get in on the Eric Nording. We'll post it on Instagram. We'll do some fun stuff. Congratulations to Rad Pipes. And again, our thanks to Mitchell and Sarah at MBSD Pipes, mbsdpipes.com, for this fantastic giveaway. And by the way, Mitchell and I have been talking. The next giveaway from him will be a Meerschaum with a Breyer Stummel. So that'll be.
Wow, that'd be
cool.
Nice. That'd be
really
cool.
Yeah.
Hey, so it doesn't lose its spot in the order of things. We have the mystery pipe giveaway. It was the pipe suggestions, and I've just an update on that. We had 17 total entrants. I have recorded the winner. I know the winner. I'm going to make the pipe, and then if I can get it done, it'll be this Sunday's podcast. I will reveal the winner, and I'll show the pipe, and the lucky person is going to get the pipe that they asked me to make.
Excellent. What a wonderful giveaway. I'd like to thank Anthony for coming to join us again. CastleBriars.com. He does incredible work. I have 2 of his pipes. I cannot speak highly enough about the precision at which he makes pipes. Just fantastic work, and we loved having you on. And we'll have you back on sometime soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate that, and kind of had some longer, in-depth pipe discussions, but it's good talking pipes with Tim. So,
excellent.
Good stuff. Thanks, Anthony.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us here for episode 15, and we look forward to episode 16 coming up soon. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.